Good morning or afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're calling in from. Today is January 28th, 2016, and I believe this is our 58th Mastermind call. Our partner, Chad, who we were just kind of kidding, from West Virginia, is on a plane right now, so you got me and Tim today. You don't have our trainer, so we can probably still answer your training-related questions if you have them, but again, guys, this call is all about you. Please, the partners, us four partners, just got together from a 3-day conference, and I'm sure Tim will have a few things he wants to share with you from that. But we talk to each other enough, so please let us help you with whatever issues, whatever questions you have, whatever you need help with. And the best way to do that, just hit *6 and then hit 1, and you'll get put into our question and answer queue. And we have a couple people in there already. Tim, anything you want to share from the event that we just came from? Anything you want to share with the group?
Well, as always, we had a great time together, and potentially we had too great a time a couple of times. We always enjoy each other's company, and we've had a very great year, and so we had some good things to celebrate, and we did a lot of great planning about where we're heading, and made some significant decisions about some of the things we intend to do in the coming weeks and months, and set some objectives for us as a team, and they will all benefit our clients and customers as well. I think a couple of things that I'll mention are that we're going to expand our affiliate program, and one of the things we're intending to do with that is to allow any of our existing customers to refer someone to us and earn a commission, and the reason for that's very simple. We already have several people who are getting good chunks of change every month from us because they have shared the good news of what we offer to people in their sphere of influence. And almost all of you, if you've been in real estate for very long, know someone somewhere else in some area that's not necessarily competing with you that might benefit from the opportunity to be in a relationship with us. And so we'll be rolling something out to you pretty quickly to let you know some more details on that program, and tell you how to go do it. And we'll just create a little page so you can go sign up, and we'll create you an instant affiliate link so that you can give this to your friends and people that you know, and get on the path to earning your leads for free. Obviously, if you refer enough folks to us, we'll be able to cut the price of your leads dramatically, and ultimately, obviously, get them for free if you do enough of it. So that's one thing, and we've been asked for it a couple of times, well, more than a couple of times by several of our clients because they're used to doing it. So that's one of the things that we did. The other thing that we're doing, we realized that while we have great ideas about what we think we should be doing next and what path we should be on in terms of growing our business, we also know that the best source for that information is you guys and gals. And so we're going to be sending a survey out to all of our customers and tell you the things that we put on our plate as potential targets for our growth. And these would be targeted markets such as divorce and foreclosure and notice of default and the various other things that are typically out there. The reason being that we are continuing to grow our research capability, and as we do that, we're finding additional sources for information that we simply don't collect because we don't turn around and try and remarket them, and we're being asked for them more frequently, and people are relying ever more often on our resources to build their businesses. So we named our company All the Leads when we started this with the intent that we would, in fact, expand our horizons, and we've talked about it several times on this call. Our initial target had always been to target divorce, and we also got a bunch of requests for targeting newlyweds and pull that information down. So we're going to survey you. So watch your email in the next, certainly within the next week, you'll receive an email survey from us. We want you to fill it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what would be best for you, and that's where we'll go do our work. So those are the kind of things that we worked on in our meeting, and we also talked about how to enhance the experience of what you're getting. One final thing that I will add to you is that we've been getting a lot of requests to be able to look at your leads in an online system and in particular, be able to go in and as you make your follow-up phone calls, flag your leads for ones you want to follow up on, put notes in, that sort of thing, and also flag them to either mail to, not mail to, and allow us to use that where we're doing the work for you. If we're doing a mailbox motivator program, as so many of you are doing, you'll be able to, as you make the calls to that first month, if you find that you've exhausted that and you're not going to want to pursue that one with another letter, then you can just mark it off and it saves you money, allows you to do more, sharpen your axe, and not waste dollars prospecting for people that you know that aren't going to close. So we started doing that. We did an initial demo of it at our summit. We took a good look at it, and what we sort of realized is that we're working on what begins to look like a CRM, and so we're gonna be enhancing that as time goes on, and that has some interesting possibilities for all of us. We'll talk more about that later, and we may do one of these calls not as a just voice call, but we'll start doing some webinars mixed in with this as we go to kind of show you the progress we're making. And having said that, Jim, you've got people in the queue. I'll just remind everybody the same thing that you do. If you have questions, make sure you hit *6. The prompt will come on and tell you to hit 1. That'll put you in the queue, and you can ask your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. Jimmy, take some calls, buddy.
All right, excellent. And by the way, guys, I always want to mention on every one of these calls, the best way to get help with anything you need is to send an email to support@alltheleads.com. You talk to Tim and myself and our trainer Chad every week. This week we also have our customer service person who, if you send a ticket to support@alltheleads.com, probably about an 80% chance Tom's going to call you back if it's something that Tom can help you with. And Tom's on the call today. Tom, I know you weren't expecting me to call on you, but say hello and anything you want to share with the group.
No, I appreciate being on the call, and I thank everyone for being our customers or looking at our products. And as Jim said, it's the most efficient is to just send an email at support@alltheleads.com. That way we know where to get that request to and get the right person to respond back to you.
And I think our average response time is, the last time I checked, it was like 13 or 14 minutes. So normally somebody will get back to you real quick. We're real serious about. I always tell you guys, we realize we can sell you data for a month or two, but if we don't make sure you're successful with it, we're not going to have a long-term client, and we want long-term clients. We want all you guys to stay around and actually make money with these leads. So thank you, partners. Having said all of that, I believe the first person there is Rodger. Let me double check. Rodger, is that you? Area code 479?
Good afternoon. Good morning.
Is that Rodger?
I am today.
Hey, thank you, Rodger. Now, Rodger, you kind of prompted that conversation in the beginning of the call because Rodger is having phenomenal success with this and is about to put together the biggest deal that any of our clients have ever had. And I know he's mentioned it briefly on previous calls, but this morning he referred a gentleman from an adjoining county to us, which is taking the leads in the adjoining county. And we appreciate the referral, Rodger. And I heard there's some good, if you could, give everybody just a real brief, like if you could do 2 minutes or less, synopsis of the deal you're working on. And I understand you think you've got the listing. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is the lead that I got from an attorney that was a result of my direct mails and phone calls. Turns out to be about 200 acres in town of Fayetteville and about 240 acres in agricultural in Bentonville. Total deal is probably going to be something around $7 million. And it was the attorney called me. I met with the family just this week, and they gave us a commitment to list the property when Mom is ready to sell.
Which is what's the time frame on that? Do you have any idea?
Well, we're waiting for Mom. She's the issue is that Mom lives on the property in Fayetteville, and I think it's probably going to wind up being sooner than later because the city has already started putting a bypass through their agricultural land in Fayetteville, and there's already been properties around it that have been sold that are not a part of the estate for development.
Excellent. Good for you, Rodger. So when you cash that commission check on the $7 million, you're just going to prepay for your leads for the next 50 years, right?
You guys don't. I'm going to hold you guys to a long-term contract at the rate that you're doing, and we're going to lock up Washington County. And thanks to Jim's suggestion earlier. When Jim said check the properties around the 200 acres, I found another 248 acres that were bank-owned, which I have done some work for in the past, and I have an appointment next week with their property manager to list the 248 acres additional in Fayetteville that are contiguous to the probate property.
Wow. Phenomenal. Yeah, we mentioned to Rodger, and I think that was both Chad and I, that if this road's going through, there's got to be other people in the path of progress. And congratulations to you, Rodger. I believe, you've done everything right. This is the first time you've done anything like this. You really don't have any commercial experience, but you've pretty much done everything we suggested that you do, from meeting with the people to getting your team together to going through probate mastery and now reaching out to other people, and boy, this could make your career. So, congratulations. We really wanted you to share that with the group. As we take other questions, Rodger, I think I'll just leave you unmuted in case anybody has specific questions for you. And anything else you want to share, or not that isn't enough, but anything else you want to share with the group?
I did get another referral from an attorney that got that I got my mails. I have a 3:00 listing appointment this afternoon. It's a small house in Springdale, but the family's doing that. So I'm really falling into the fold of what y'all are coaching us to do, and I encourage everybody that gets into it, as well as Russ Kidwell, who's I asked him to join me in some sort of partnership between Washington and Benton County, because I'm getting really busy, and nobody else is doing it in our market. And it's so Russ is sitting here with me, and he's invited me he came down to Washington County to do the phone call, and I'm excited that Russ is doing, and we can work with each other on what we're doing. I can show him what I'm doing. He can use my templates and so on and so forth. So it's ballooning on me with just the 4 lists that I've received from you guys.
And Rodger, how many leads are you getting per month?
Right now, I've only been doing it for 4 months, and I'm probably getting at this point 1 per month, and it's I'm trying to fold it into the rest of my business, because I've got 4 contracts for sellers that I've been working with before I got into this. And
so, how many leads are we sending you? What's the gross number of leads per month?
Probably about 20 per month average. I've got 20 on the first month, about 15 on the second month, 27 on the third month, and I got about 15 on the fourth month.
And the reason I mention that, I have a lot of agents, when I talk to them, they're a little bit discouraged because they'll look in Hayhurst, Texas, and there's 500 leads a month, and then they look in their area and there's only 15 or 20. Sometimes the lower count areas, the more rural areas, can be the most productive because you've got absolutely no competition. I think you've really proved that theory out, so that's great. I know my partner Tim had a thought. Tim, there's something you wanted to share?
Well, I just wanted to point something out, and I'm sure this goes without saying to most of the folks that are on here, but as you begin to look at opportunities that you find in probate, there are 2 things that I would say. One is to make sure that you realize that you may or may not find a particular, like the homestead or where the decedent lived may be the house that's in probate. In addition to that, just as Rodger found out, there's other properties there, and you may find a gold mine of additional properties in any probate that's there. Don't just ask the question about, is there a house to sell or is there property, and always ask the second question of, is there anything else in this probate that, needs to go with this, for two reasons. One, you can potentially package a deal, which is important, and that's some of the stuff that Rodger's finding. The other thing about it is make sure that you learn as much as you can, and in particular, if you can find open land or any commercial property or anything else, this term path of progress is really, really critical. If you do find something that's on that path of progress, heading to the nearest Walmart, the nearest shopping center, the nearest anything where you know that if your county is growing, that's an area that's going to grow. That's the knowledge that you want to impart to your potential clients that lets them know you're doing your homework, you're researching their property, and you know what's going on. And certainly Rodger found a diamond in the field there by doing just that. So this call is a great call, and we've had Rodger on 3-4 times, and every time it opens up yet another thing that you need to keep in your head as you learn your craft about probate. Make sure you ask all those probing questions, and you're going to find the same diamonds Rodger did. They're out there.
Yeah, well said. Our trainer Chad is on a plane today. He's not here, but he's given us several examples of. He always tells people not only ask the question, is there any other probate in any other real estate in the probate, but ask them, do you know anybody else looking to buy or sell property in this area? And he had someone going through his course that the lady was very nice that said, no, we've already sold that property. It was my dad's property, or it was a relative. I think it was a brother or a sister. But anyway, we've already sold that property. And Chad said, well, do you have any other property? And she said, well, we're talking about putting my mom in a nursing home. So if that happens, we're going to need to sell her house. And Chad just, he always says, make sure this is such a rarely worked niche. Make sure everybody you talk to, whether you can help them right away or not, let them know that you specialize in this niche. They're unlikely to talk to any other realtor that does. And long story short, this particular client was a couple months later, she called back and said, okay, yeah, we're ready now. We put mom in the nursing home. And this wasn't even a probate. It was a pre-death sale. But just the fact that the agent identified herself as somebody who specializes in probate, got her that extra listing. So go that extra step, ask that extra question. That's great. We do, and again, guys, if you have any questions, any other comments, and Rodger, I'm going to leave you unmuted. We do have one other question in the queue right now, but if anybody else would like to ask a question of Rodger, make a comment, anything you're getting stuck with, even if you're just brand new and you haven't done anything yet, your questions are welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and take the next one from area code 201. 201, you're up.
Hey, it's Michael Klein, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Hey, Michael. How's it going?
Good. My question actually was, I'm very slow to get things started and just about to really get rolling with things because I was busy with some other things. Would Rodger allow, I'd like to be able to just have a conversation with him at some point to maybe ask questions. Would it be possible to get his contact information?
Hang on a second. I accidentally muted Rodger out. So, Rodger, you want to teach a probate class for other for other agents on the call? Do you mind if someone contacts you?
Not at all. If you can send me an email, that would be great. We can set up a time to do that. I've got to finish up my listing presentation for this afternoon, and I'll be glad to set an appointment to do that.
Yeah. So what would be the email address?
Rodger, you want send me and only because we don't want you to get 100 calls. If anybody specifically wants to talk to Rodger, I'm just trying to respect his time. I'm sure he'll talk to as many people as necessary, but send me an email to jim@alltheleads.com. And Rodger, if you would send me your best contact info. And if anybody else wants to talk to him, that's fine. I just, out of respect for Rodger, I think we should probably regulate it.
Sure.
Regulate
Jim,
it.
the other thing I wanted to just mention, I know that we've talked on a couple of these calls about you guys looking into the whole divorce situation.
Yes, sir.
and I've had extensive conversations with Chad. I just wanted to let you know or anybody else know that it is a viable thing. I actually just got for the second time this week where a judge called me from the court and said, I need you to sell this home for me, that people know that you'd set the price and you're the realtor they have to work with.
That's great. That's great.
The divorce it takes a little bit long to develop, but it's definitely something that can be developed.
And Mike, we look to you to be to be one of the coaches or one of the trainers or tutors when we're ready to roll out divorce, and we're really ready. It's just a slightly different collection process, and what we're trying to do is build the back end to give the support and the training and the letters, and we don't want to just throw everybody the data and have them fall flat on their faces. But I have heard before, and I'm just curious if you find this to be true, that there typically tend to be about twice as many divorce leads as probate per market. Is that about right, do you think, or do you know?
The thing is, the reason I got into it or started to get into it was I'm in a younger market. And I said, you know what, people always talk about probate, and this is before I even was starting to get leads from you. And I said, but why would I want to chase what everybody else is chasing? I said, how many people are doing niche in divorce? And I started doing research online. No matter what state it was in, I was having trouble finding realtors.
Yep.
And I just figured it was such, you look at the divorce rate, and I said, we probably have 3 times as many people getting divorced as dying.
Yep.
So my goal was to contact attorneys and to slowly meet the attorneys to refer me to their clients. I wound up doing that coincidentally by being asked by an attorney, hey, we run this course for CE credits for marital attorneys. Would you sponsor it? Well, what's involved? And she said, well, it's $500 a meeting. It's a dinner meeting. And I said, great, I'll take the year, which was last year when I started. So, you do these meetings. You can't expect to get much out of it. It takes time. And then by the end of the meeting last year is when the judge called me up the first time and said, I met you at one of the meetings. I need you to sell these 2 properties. And one property was, trying to remember, was just about $700, and the other one was about $850 or $900,000.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
the one I'm doing now is a little bit less, but I'm actually going to see her next week. The meetings are starting again for this year, and of course I have to respect her position. But my goal is to now take her and say, Your Honor, you see how I work. Are there any other judges you can introduce me to?
Fantastic.
If I can get 3 or 4 judges to each give me 3 a year, that's 12 sales.
Yeah. And the judge is an independent party. It's not.
I don't even have to interview for it. They're literally told this is who you are using.
Wow. Fantastic.
And of course, then if your name comes up more and more in the court, then the attorneys start to hear your name, and now the attorneys will start recommending you to their clients.
Yeah. Boy, that is great.
So it's a process, but it's worthwhile.
Yeah, and we really appreciate it. I know you're working with Chad to put together the back end so that we can roll out divorce, sooner rather than later. Yeah, I had heard before that, and you've heard me probably mention this on the calls. I mentioned to an agent one time, it looks like we get about twice as many divorce as probate per county, and the agent very matter-of-factly said, well, of course, you can only die once.
Right.
which is true. There probably are more divorces than probate. It's a little, we felt like probate was less contentious. It was a little lower hanging fruit to start agents with. But
I agree.
Yeah.
Very often, like the one I just got now, the husband's living in the home. He does not want to move.
Yeah.
At all. And to make the court happy, which they appreciate that I do this, I actually write in the listing agreement, should the court decide you don't have to sell the home, this contract is voidable with no financial cost to the seller.
Yeah, that's great.
So
I know my
part. Bit of work and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're doing a little bit of work that you might not get paid for, but that's what makes the judge also really happy. She knows that you're here for the situation. I've actually tried to say to them, listen, if you introduce me, if the attorneys, is what I preach to the attorneys, if you introduce me to 10 divorce clients a year, I know that 8 of them are not selling their home.
Mm-hmm.
However, if they'd like to meet for an hour and go over the values and this and that, I'll meet with them.
Exactly.
The biggest error that most realtors make, and I know it myself, the attorneys told me, is as soon as the realtor finds out that they're not selling their home, they don't want to talk to the people because there's no money involved.
Exactly.
But if you do your job right, you might not sell their home then, but you might sell it in 2 years or 3 years.
Yep. Well, I can see you're passionate about it. You're definitely our go-to man, Mike. I really appreciate it. And Tim, you wanted to make a comment also, correct?
Yeah, I just was going to point out something that's very interesting about this. You know, one of the things that is often neglected on the leads that we receive that we're sending out in probate, we always give you the attorney information, and always on this call, someone usually asks about, you know, what do I do with the attorneys and when do I deal with them, and should I start off by prospecting with the attorneys and all of that. And I want to point out a couple of things. On many of these calls over the year or so that we've been doing this, we hear a lot about people who have had great success working with the attorneys that are on the probate list and beginning to network with them. And there's nothing easier than, you know, getting a straight up referral. If somebody goes to an attorney to handle a probate situation and the attorney realizes that there's real estate in it, and the attorney with 2 questions says, well, what have you decided to do about the property there? And the determination is, well, we need to sell it. If the next words out of that attorney's mouth are, well, I know a great agent who really specializes in working with probate in our county, why don't I have that person call you? You're done. That's go take this listing. And so those are the relationships that you need to build. And it's very easy to figure out who they are. If you get your leads, go into your leads into the spreadsheet that we provide them in and sort them by, go to the attorney column and just sort it. And what you're going to find is that the same attorney is often handling 3 or 4 of those cases. And so however that has occurred, they're the probate go-to person in your particular county. And if you look back, if you've been with us 3 or 4 months, you're going to find that same attorney is going to pop up a bunch of times. You need to go court that attorney in any way that you can and try and get in front of them, spend some time with them, find out what it would take to become their go-to person. They typically aren't going to be looking for money from you. All they're looking to do is enhance their reputation by making sure that whoever they refer does a great job for them. And if you can show them that you've enhanced your own expertise, that, for example, you've gotten your CPE from us, you're a certified probate expert, you have a website that shows a lot about your credibility and all the research that you've done to make yourself an expert in probate in your county, you're in like Klein. You just really need to go take a look at those attorneys. So it's a secondary thing to do, and it does take time to court them. But once you get them, you'll keep them forever as long as you continue to do a good job.
Well said. I think Paul Hayhurst in Central Florida is the best example. We've told this story a few times, but his first month he got 100 he got 100 leads, he got 5 listings, and 3 of them were the same attorney. And he called the attorney, and I think initially the attorney told him, yeah, I don't like to recommend agents. You know, it reflects badly on me if they don't do a good job. So Paul just overwhelmed the attorney with service the whole time. As he was working on the listings, he kept in touch with them. Well, after the 3rd one closed, the attorney called Paul and said, okay, you proved yourself. I'm going to start referring deals to you. And I think Paul is getting about an equal number of deals from the leads that we send him and from this one attorney who's consistently referring leads to him.
Yeah, it's crazy, Jim. I get, Paul, it just happens to be that Paul's in my backyard and also a friend, and I see Paul's communication that he does in email, and every time Paul takes a new listing, he puts it online, and I get an email from it. And I would say in the last 3 days, I've gotten 7 new listing publications from Paul, and I know for a fact that 2 of them came out of that attorney relationship. One of them was probate, and he's just rocking this. I mean, he's just doing a great job. He gets his letters out, he follows up with the phone call, and he gets this done. So
right. And the flip side of that, Tim, I have a lot of agents say I'm intimidated by attorneys. We recommend call the executor first. You know, that's your primary source of contact. Get the property listed. Once you've got it listed, it does not hurt anything to reach out and try to impress that attorney. It's definitely usually going to be a tougher relationship to build, but the executor is good for one deal. That attorney can be good for months and years worth of referrals. So I think too many agents overlook that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing about it, often if you're in a divorce situation, in a probate situation, if you take that listing, one of the things you may want to do just to make sure that you're doing the right thing is, even if you haven't talked to the attorney, if you take the listing from someone and you know who their attorney is and you have that information, make a courtesy call to that attorney and tell them what you've done and ask them if there's any hair on that deal that you're not aware of that they may be aware of. It'll save you immeasurable amounts of time, as opposed to getting to, down the stream and you've got an offer from somebody and all of a sudden there's some contingency floating around there you weren't aware of. The attorney will know the answer to that in most cases. So always, once you take that listing, if you have the opportunity, contact the attorney right then.
Well said. Guys, we're about out of time. Rodger, thank you so much for participating. Mike, can't wait to, a few months down the road have you be talking on all these calls about divorce. Is there anybody else? Last call, hit *6 and hit 1, or should we all get back to work? All right, guys, I always thank you so much, and I always end these calls by challenging you. Take one thought, one idea, one story. Take Rodger's example or some great idea that you heard on this call. Go out and implement it this week and come back next Thursday and share it with the group. Thank you so much, guys. In the meantime, support@alltheleads.com if we can help you with anything. Make it a great week, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.